On the news, Nigerian Army confirms ambush on military base in Niger and Kaduna states, says terrorists killed soldiers. Main opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP) bows to pressure, reinstate Samuel Anyanwu, shelves NEC meeting. INEC receives 110 applications for political party registrations, vows transparency. It's a pleasure to have you join us now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Victoria Konde. We kick off with security matters as several armed bandits and Nigerian soldiers were killed during coordinated attacks on military bases in Kaduna and Niger states. The Nigerian Army said the assaults occurred in Kwana, Dutse, Mariga and Boka in Niger and Angwan Turai in Chikun local government area of Kaduna, where bandits launched a simultaneous three-pronged offensive. Troops from both land and air components responded with counter-offensives that neutralized many of the attackers. However, the army, in a statement posted on its official X handle on Wednesday, confirmed that some personnel were killed while 4 others sustained gunshot wounds and are currently receiving treatment. On the political scene, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has reversed its earlier stance on Senator Samuel Anyanwu and suspended its planned National Executive Committee meeting scheduled for June 30 following a meeting with the Independent National Electoral Commission. Speaking at a press conference at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja on Wednesday, the party's acting national chairman, Umar Damagum, described the decision as difficult but widely accepted among key stakeholders. Flanked by Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, former Senate President Bukola Saraki and other party stakeholders, Damagum announced that the party has resolved to reintegrate Anyanwu into the National Working Committee. Damagum stated that the PDP will now hold an expanded National Caucus meeting on June 30 in place of the previously scheduled NEC meeting. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission on Wednesday released the list of 110 associations seeking registration as political parties, revealing several irregularities in the submissions. This was disclosed by the chairman of INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, during the Commission's second quarterly consultative meeting with media and electoral stakeholders. Among the proposed parties is the All Democratic Alliance (ADA), reportedly backed by a coalition of high-profile politicians, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi. Yakubu reaffirmed the Commission's unwavering commitment to transparency, fairness, and legal compliance in its processes.
For the record, the present commission registered the largest number of political parties in Nigeria, strictly following the provision of the electoral legal framework. For the 2019 general election, there were 91 political parties and 73 presidential candidates. The commission was criticized in some quarters for registering too many political parties. After the election, the Commission also deregistered over 70 political parties as provided by law. We wish to reassure Nigerians that under the current situation, we will continue to be guided by law and act with fairness to all associations seeking registration as political parties. We will treat all requests fairly, irrespective of the status of their promoters. The Commission received letters of intent from 110 associations that wish to register as political parties. We are diligently processing the requests in line with the procedure outlined in the law, as well as our regulations and guidelines. We have acknowledged all requests received so far, except 6 of them received recently, which will be done before the end of the week. For emphasis, I wish to inform Nigerians, particularly those interested in registering new political parties, that the handbook containing the regulations and guidelines for political parties 2022 is already available from the Commission's website. Meanwhile, the Commission is today releasing the full list of the 110 associations seeking registration as political parties, indicating their proposed names, acronyms, addresses, and the names of their pro tem chairmen and secretaries. For transparency and public information, the list will be uploaded to our website and social media platforms shortly.
Reacting to the surge in political associations seeking registration, legal expert Libros Sharma described the development as a reflection of greed and political opportunism rather than a failure of governance. Speaking in an exclusive interview with TV360 Nigeria, Oshoma noted that owning a political party has now become so easy it feels like a business venture, with individuals more focused on power than purpose.
If you take your mind back, when the debate between Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe for the inclusion of state creation in Nigeria, if you remember the statement of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe then, Dr. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, that once we start to create states, until Ikenne, his village, becomes a state, that Nigerians will not rest. In the same vein, that is what you see that people carry over to political party registration. At the present, we have about how many political parties now? But in every election, you find out that you have a dominant political party. One would have expected that these other fringe political parties would, probably be regional political party, or just tell you know what, we don't want to have national spread. Let's just dominate election at the state level, and all of that. But that's not happening. So what you see happening here is every individual wanting to own a political party, because we've now seen that political parties have become bargaining tools. So when the main parties, the dominant parties fail to give you ticket, it's easy for you to run to look for a platform where you can just hijack and get tickets. So you see some people registering political parties for those purposes. So it's become business. I do not see it as a result of failure in governance. I don't also see it as lacuna in our constitutional arrangement, but rather I see it as, greed and selfishness on the part of politicians wanting to always own the space. Because if it's about lacuna, or if it's about greed, or if it's about the defect in the current governance structure, one would have expected that these politicians would come together and say, okay, let us find a way to come together, form a formidable force to be able to wrestle power. But that's not what we are seeing. Everybody wants to own a space. And then some people would say, since you can't have independent candidacy, let everybody just have one political party in their briefcase. So that acts more like an independent candidate. So I think, to answer your question directly now, with the surge, really, it's about this mentality of always wanting to own, not co-own or co-locate. That's basically what is happening.
Now let's go back to a story on the People's Democratic Party, PDP, reinstating Samuel Anyanwu as its national secretary. Now, no doubt this is a major move by the party given the internal crisis and recent trail of defections. But let's get insights from People's Democratic Party Chieftain Dinro Odeyemi. Thank you very much for joining us on the news. Now, sir, PDP has finally bowed to pressure and reinstated Samuel Anyanwu. So how much will this move solve the political crisis in PDP?
I want to assure you that it is the beginning towards resolving the crisis in PDP. Because, and I wonder why it took us such a long time to interpret correctly the decision of the Supreme Court. The good thing about that decision was that INEC was co-joined in the suit by Anyanwu. Even though PDP tried to misinterpret the decision of the Supreme Court, but INEC, who were also sued, by Anyanwu, interpreted it correctly and said, yes, we cannot flout the Supreme Court order. Anyanwu remains the secretary. instead of the personal interpretation given to it by the party, that they were given the blanket order to choose their leader among themselves. And so they chose Okoye. But now that they agreed that Anyanwu should be reinstated back, it's an evidence that very soon our crisis will come to an end. Because if you look at it very well, the issue of secretary is very germane to whatever we want to do in the party. He is the engine room of the party. And you will agree with me that part of the reason why some people said they were deporting to APC was that if they want to contest for an election, who is going to sign their form? And we told them then that this is an hasty decision. But whether they like it or not, we are still going to have our convention very soon. And that convention, both either Anyanwu or Okoye or whoever, will soon be laid to rest because we are going to have a new election whereby new national executive officers will be elected. So now that the party has agreed, I think it's a sign and it's a signal that our crisis will soon come to an end and we can resolve among ourselves.
All right, and now, sir, some observers see this decision as a political compromise. Do you think the party is prioritizing unity and reconciliation, or is it struggling to manage internal power dynamics ahead of the 2027 elections?
Part of the principle of resolving crisis is give and take. Is to do away with rascality, ego, and personal desire and the desire for leadership. If at the end of the day the leadership agree now that Anyanwu should assume the leadership or the secretary of the position, it is still part of the resolution method of resolving issues. So Nigerians should give us the credit that we are now trending towards resolving our crisis internally, and that will be done. It's an evidence, it's a step, it's a positive step, and a signal to Nigerians that very soon we are going to resolve among ourselves.
We'll watch as events unfold. PDP Chieftain General Adeyemi, thank you very much for sharing your insights on the news. Now, moving on, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has officially written to the House of Representatives declining assent to the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Amendment Bill 2025. The letter read on the floor by the Speaker, Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, during plenary, stated that while the objectives of the bill were commendable, certain provisions conflicted with existing laws and federal government policies. According to the President, the contentious provisions relate to the funding of agencies under the National Assembly, taxation of national entities, public service regulations, and aspects of aid and service years. He warned that allowing the bill to become law would set an unsustainable precedent against public interests.
Right to inform you of my decision to decline assent to the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Amendment Bill 2025. Notwithstanding the laudable objectives of the legislation, certain provisions contained therein go against the settled law and policies of the federal government of Nigeria as it relates to funding of agencies under the National Assembly, taxation of national entities, public service remuneration, as well as age and year of service, among others. If this bill becomes law, these provisions will establish an unsustainable precedent against the public interest.
And the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the causes of underperformance of the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, in Nigeria, aiming to identify challenges and recommend reforms to enhance the scheme's efficiency and effectiveness. The decision followed a motion of urgent public importance moved by Billy Osawuru, who highlighted the need to address persistent issues affecting the NHIS and health maintenance organizations, HMOs, across the country. The House mandated the Director General of the National Health Insurance Authority to work with its Committee on Healthcare Services to evaluate the scheme's impact on healthcare delivery in Nigeria, identify challenges, and suggest suitable solutions.
The House is worried that despite efforts to increase coverage and improve the welfare through quality healthcare delivery, only about 5% of Nigerians are enrolled in the NHIS, and the said 5% are facing numerous challenges, such as poor quality services, limited access to medications, as beneficiaries complain about out-of-stock medications or lack of quality medications and high incidence of out-of-pocket payment despite being insured. Mr. Speaker, the House is also worried that despite the efforts of the government to adequately back NHIS, its funding is generally considered inadequate, and this causes delayed payments to healthcare providers such as the hospitals and clinics by health maintenance organizations, otherwise known as HMOs, and this in turn affects the quality of services rendered to beneficiaries.
In other stories, the call for the Attorney General of the Federation and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) to immediately investigate the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, entered the fourth day. The group Concerned Young Professionals Network is demanding Ahmed's removal over allegations of corruption, abuse of power, and regulatory compromise. Led by Dan Okwa, the national president of the group, as well as co-conveners Olayemi Isaac, Emmanuel Agabi, the group accuses Ahmed of diverting over $5 million in public funds for his children's education and nepotism in the recruitment of his son to Wando PLC, a company under NMDPRA's jurisdiction. The protesters are also concerned about Ahmed's leadership style, which they claim has led to regulatory compromise, particularly in the issuance of permits for the importation of diesel with high sulfur content.
Our demand is simple. Investigate the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Ahmed Farouk. Investigate him now. Yes. Arrest him now. Yes. Prosecute him now. Yes. He is a bug in the government of President Ahmed Tinubu. He will kill this government if he is not stopped. Yes. If we are not talking about suspension, remove him outrightly. Yes. And let investigation start immediately.
And like we all know, the petroleum sector has become the major economic stay of Nigeria. It has become our major revenue generation resource. So we cannot jeopardize that institution. Rather than jeopardize it, every element that needs to be rooted out, we immediately be rooted out, or by brutality, we carry out our action.
Abuse of office than this. Now this marks the beginning of going to happen in this nation. Until we are able to actually fight people that have actually brought this nation on its knees, we will not rest. This is just the beginning. We cannot be intimidated. We cannot actually be delivered. We cannot actually back down. And what we are trying to say in effect is that until Ahmed is removed from office.
It's time for a short break. When news now returns, investigations reveal seat malfunction as cause of Air India crash. Stay with us for details. Welcome back. Now let's take you through our major stories. Several armed bandits and Nigerian soldiers were killed during coordinated attacks on military bases in Kaduna and Niger states. The Nigerian Army said the assaults occurred in Kwana, Dutse, Mairiga, and Boka in Niger, and Agua Tura in Chikun local government area of Kaduna, where bandits launched a simultaneous three-pronged offensive. We also told you that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on Wednesday released the first list of 110 associations seeking registration as political parties, revealing several irregularities in the submissions. Yakubu reaffirmed the Commission's unwavering commitment to transparency, fairness, and legal compliance in all its processes. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and ABO TV, or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on X, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we are at TV360 Online. It's now time for business news, and Tamilore Akinkwale is on standby. What's the latest, Tamilore?
Thank you, Victoria. Hello and welcome to Business News. Now, in a bold move to bring order to Lagos' sprawling urban landscape, the state government has launched the Lagos Identity Project, a high-tech digital house numbering initiative that promises to transform how properties are identified, tracked, and managed. The project, unveiled on Tuesday, marks a major milestone in Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's Teams Plus agenda, which seeks to modernize Lagos using data, innovation, and smart governance tools. At the heart of the initiatives are new digital plates embedded with QR codes and color codes linked to each local government, which are expected to revolutionize emergency response, postal services, infrastructure planning, and property tax administration. We'll take a breather here and be back with Stock Market Report. And the Nigerian exchange markets continued its bullish run on Wednesday, with the market recording a 1.22% gain, pushing the total market capitalization beyond the 76 trillion naira mark to settle at 76.51 trillion naira. The positive momentum added over 1 trillion naira in value to investors' portfolios. Now, a total of 129 listed equities participated in today's trading session, with 63 closing in the green and 17 in the red. Now, leading the Ghana chart was Orlando PLC. We saw a 10% appreciation in the share price to close at 68 naira 75 kobo, followed closely by Dangote Sugar, and these were among the top order performance. Now, by the end of trading, investors had exchanged 861 million volumes of shares in 22,896 deals, and representing a market turnover of 26 billion. Now, when compared to Tuesday's session, trading volume rose by 14%, turnover by 12%, and the number of deals improved by 3%, reflecting growing investors' confidence and the activity in the market. Now, on the global front, global market recorded mixed performance. The UK FTSE and US Dow Jones Index closed in the negative territory, trading in contrast to the Nigeria's local bourse. Meanwhile, in the foreign exchange markets, the naira remained under pressure. On the parallel market, the local currency exchanged at 1,620 naira to the US dollar, 2,050 kobo to the British pound, and 1,720 naira to the euros, unchanged from Tuesday's rates. And that's it on both business and stock market updates. Back to you, Victoria, for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Tamilore, for that update. Now, on the global scene, a malfunction in the captain's seat locking mechanism has been identified as the primary cause of the fatal Air India Boeing 787 crash that killed 270 people. A preliminary investigation report released this week reveals that during takeoff, the captain's seat unexpectedly slid backward, causing his hands to pull the throttle levers into idle, cutting engine power at a critical moment just seconds after lead-off. In response, both the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration and the European Union Aviation Safety Agency have issued emergency directives mandating immediate inspections of all Boeing 787 pilot seats worldwide. Still on the global scene, Iran's parliament has approved a bill to suspend cooperation with the United Nations nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, escalating tensions following a recent aerial conflict with Israel. The decision comes in the wake of a dramatic exchange of airstrikes between the two long-term adversaries, with Israel stating its actions were aimed at preventing Iran from advancing its nuclear weapon program. The legislation passed by a majority vote in Tehran authorizes the government to halt inspections and limit access for IAEA monitors, moves likely to deepen international concerns over Iran's nuclear ambitions. Finally, on sports, amid reports that Nigerian sprint star Favour Fili is considering switching her international allegiance to Turkey, athletics experts are weighing in on the potential impact and what it signals for Nigeria's sports management. Ofili has yet to publicly confirm the move. However, unverified reports suggest she may have submitted a formal request to compete for Turkey ahead of future international competitions. If confirmed, Ofili would join a growing list of Nigerian-born athletes who have chosen to represent other countries due to better opportunities and support systems. Reacting to the development, renowned sports journalist Tunde Eludini describes the potential switch as a wake-up call for Nigerian sport authorities.
Well, first of all, it is not a new phenomenon. Several years back, we've had cases of Nigerian athletes switching allegiance. So it shows that it's not a new problem. It's something that has been there for years, and we have not really tackled it. And what it shows is that there is still a lot to be done in terms of athlete welfare. If you look at athletes, the complaint has always been there about neglect. And this is supposed to be like a professional, it's a profession, if you want to call it that way. So athletes, their means of livelihood depends on this. So if you don't invest rightly in these athletes, this is the kind of thing you get. But that aside, you must give the new dispensation, you must cut them some slack. And before now, there has always been complaints about training grounds and all of that, which gradually Nigeria is beginning to adopt. And for my checks, I really gathered that the training grounds for this year has already been paid to Ofili and a couple of other athletes. So you will see that there is an effort, but more still needs to be done. The long-term effect is that already Nigeria is struggling. Nigeria is already struggling. That is a fact. You can imagine we went to the last Olympics and we returned empty-handed. And that is even when we had, in quote, our best leg. So if we begin to lose more athletes to foreign athletes in this manner, what it means is that Nigeria can no longer compete favorably.
And that wraps up our Bulletin of News now. Many thanks for joining us. See you next time.